good to go. Hello and welcome to OCN Recipes. I'm Graham, and today we're going to be making chocolate chip cookies. Alright, now let's start with, obviously with all cookies, you mix you start with your dry ingredients in one bowl and your wet ingredients in the other. I've done a little bit of prep work, so I have my brown sugar and my regular sugar, because this recipe has both. And I have 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour over here in my dry ingredients. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is finish up with the dry ingredients. The next one is a teaspoon of baking soda. Now that's baking soda, not baking powder. So baking soda, and what I like to do is, these cool ones have these little leveling things, so it gives you a perfect level. 1 teaspoon again of baking soda, and then we do cornstarch. So this is what makes the cookies extra chewy and keeps them very moist. And that's what I really like about this recipe, is I really like chewy cookies. We do a teaspoon and a half. Cornstarch all over already. All right, cool. Now, we do a little bit of salt. I don't really measure my salt. I just do a couple spins, but it should be half a teaspoon. Now that's all the dry ingredients. So now let's go ahead and go back to the wet ingredients. And you have, what I have here is a nice scale. I love using scales when I'm baking, but I'll say both what the grams are and everything else. So it's 3/4 cups of light brown sugar. That's about 150 grams. And then half a cup of granulated sugar, which is about 100 grams. And then I'm gonna go ahead and measure off 170, excuse me. Just double check, yep, 170, which is about 1.5 sticks of butter. And you want this butter to be about room temperature, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna cream the eggs. I don't like putting my butter in the microwave, but in a pinch, you can do that. But I like to leave it out for maybe like an hour or two before I start making my cookies. So the reason why is because you want the butter to be able to cream. And with this recipe, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make the dough, and then we're gonna let it sit for about, I like to let it sit for at least 12 hours, but at least, you should let it sit at least 3 hours before you bake it, because you want all the ingredients, to come together, but also the butter to get nice and cold again. What I'm doing now is I'm creaming the sugar, and obviously you can use a stand mixer, or if you have a hand mixer, you can do that as well. I actually just like having to use my arms. Also, this is a great way to exercise. Plus, you get a control and you get a look at how the ingredients are coming together, and you get a nice feel. You can also do that. Just throw it back in the bowl there. Once you get to this stage, this is pretty good. Almost there. What you really want to see is the butter mixed in really nicely with the sugar, and not having any of that granulated sugar or that brown sugar as little pieces. You want it all kind of one big nice chunk. Next thing that we're going to do to add to the wet ingredients is we're doing 1 full egg and 1 egg yolk. So what I'll show you how to do first is, when you're cracking eggs, I always like to crack my eggs on a flat surface, not on the side of a bowl, because when you do it on the side of a bowl, it's likely to crack around the edges, and then you get a shell in there. So what I do is flat, and then crack. To do the egg yolk, what I like to do is have a separate bowl here. I'll show you that. And I hit it on the flat part. Now, you open the cracked, and there you go. Now, the hard part is making sure that you toss it back and forth a little bit, and just make sure that you're not getting much. Ooh, see? Cracked it a little bit. Don't worry, not a huge deal. Because guess what? You're gonna mix it in there anyways. So, on the side there. Going back and just mixing this in with the eggs and the sugar and the butter. Basically what you're doing is creaming it. What you can do with a stand mixer, and what I like to do, or a hand mixer, is I really like to get a lot of air into these. Whoops, going flying. But I like to get a lot of air into the creaming part, because that will make it nice and fluffy. And there. We're pretty much there. That's good. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and take a teaspoon, and I'm going to do 2 teaspoons of vanilla. It's right if you spill a little bit extra, it's vanilla. Okay, now. And if there's any part of the recipe that you didn't get, you don't have to go back in the video. We're gonna go ahead and put the recipe in the description so that you have all of the ingredients and the measurements and everything there. So go ahead and look in that description there. I'll also show and have a link to this. This is one of my favorite tools in the kitchen. It's my scale, but what's cool about it is you can be measuring your ingredients, and the cool thing is the display comes off and it still works, so that you can have a big bowl and all that stuff. And it's about something like $30, so it's a pretty useful tool. I've used it quite a bit recently. So now we're gonna go ahead and add in our flour, our baking soda, and our cornstarch. And it doesn't matter which way you do it. You can do it the other way. You can add the wet ingredients into the flour. I just like it since the wet ingredients are already pretty sticky. I like to add the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients. And as you can see, getting there. And this obviously will take less time if you have a stand mixer or a hand mixer, but and you won't do that either. It's all right. That's what I like about baking and cooking is you can have fun and experiment. Okay, so basically there. If you really want to, you can get your hands in there. At this point, it's not sticky. It's a little bit too sticky for me to get my hands in there. But at home, when you're cooking with other people and whatever, get your hands dirty. It's fun. So now to the last and the best part about chocolate chip cookies, the chips. So these are milk chocolate chips. They are a little bit, I like them because they're a little bit flatter and a bit bigger than like your Toll House cookies. So flatter and a bit bigger than your Toll House cookies. But what I've also have done is I've also done chips and shards. So I've taken candy bars and I've just gone on a cutting board, just chopped them up, into little shards. And then what happens in the cookies as they're baking is you get these nice little pockets of chips, but then you get these nice little lines of shards, and it's really good. So, and mixing up dark and milk chocolate or dark and semi-sweet chocolate is always good too. So I just do a whole bag. As I said, I'll put in the exact amounts in the description below for the recipe, but I just do a whole bag all the time, always. So, but I'll make sure and add that into the description so that you guys can look. Now, what I'll do is we're basically done. So, like I said, is you can mix this a little bit longer. Obviously, you want it to be able to come to. I'm gonna go ahead and do it, but you want it to come into a big ball like that. And then what I can do is I've done where I've put these on a cookie tray and basically ball them out like this. The higher you get, the more the cookie will have, instead of flattening out, it will have a little bit more of that height to it, which I really like. So I do about that size, maybe a little bit bigger, and then I put them on a cookie sheet, and then you can put that cookie sheet into your fridge. And then all you have to do is preheat the oven and stick them in the oven. And through the magic of TV/YouTube/ today, ta-da, cookies. I'm gonna go ahead and take a bite here. Oh yeah. Well, that is good. Had to give my producer some. Again, if you really like this video, if you have any questions, you have comments, you have any other suggestions that you want to do, go ahead and make a comment and like this video, please. Helps us. Also, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell so that whenever we come out with new recipes, you're alerted. This has been OCN Recipes. I'm Graham. Enjoy cooking.